Hello everyone, it's Becca from BEKAHBOOKSANDBUJO, and today I am choosing my TBR for the Mini Deck of TBR-athon. The mini version of Deck of TBR-athon starts next Monday, the 17th. If you haven't checked out the announcement video, I will link it up above. Chloe from Always Booked and I are hosting this week-long version of our Deck of TBR-athon, where we let a deck of cards decide what we read. I am so excited to figure out what I will be reading for the week. I think my goal is 15 points. That might be a bit of a stretch because that would be reading 3 books worth 5 points, or more than 3 books worth less than that. We'll see what we can get on the TBR today. I'm going to draw 5 cards to kind of have a pile of possibilities to see if I can get that 15 points with 3 books. But what I will be doing is drawing 5 cards, and then I will actually be giving you a couple of options, 2 to 3 options, and then I'm turning it over to my patrons and they will be deciding what I read for the week. So if you ever had any interest in joining my Patreon, this might be a good month and week to do it so that you can decide what I read for the Mini Deck of TBR-athon. I think that's all the chatting we need to do before we pick the cards. So I'm using my Monet deck of cards that I got from Claude Monet's house in France. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle. Even though I shuffled before hitting the record button, I'll shuffle a couple of times and we will draw the first card. Ah, I'm nervous. All right, let's see what we got. We got a 6. If you don't know, suits do not matter. So a 6 is a random read. So I either have to do a random color generator, a random letter generator, or randomize my entire TBR. Great, we're starting off with chaos. To try to get the 5 points, I'm going to go ahead and pick 2 books out of my TBR jar. And my patrons will then have to decide between those 2. So let me grab the jar. Oofda, here it is. If you don't know about this jar, all of my books are in here that I haven't read. They're color coordinated by genre. So we're just gonna pick 2. Completely at random. Oofty toofty. A yellow, which is contemporary fiction. Ooh, okay, Britt Marie Was Here by Frederick Bachman. And the second option will be this one. Oops, a blue one. Have to grab the other pieces of paper that fell on the ground. Blue is mystery thriller. What does that say? The Beautiful Mystery. Oh, by Louise Penny. That does happen to be the next one I need to read in the series. So let me grab those 2 just to show you. Okay, here they are. We've got a more contemporary fiction with Britt Marie Was Here by Frederick Bachman, one of my favorite authors. And I think after I read this one, I will have read all of his novels, at least. And then this is book 8 in the Chief Inspector Armand Gamache series by Louise Penny, The Beautiful Mystery. So we'll put these 2 head to head and we'll see which ones my patrons pick and make me read for the week. Neither of those were on my radar, but I'm not mad about either of them. I also think I could get them on audio pretty easily too. So we'll put the 6 back in the deck, shuffle a few times, and pick card number 2. I'm curious to know if you are going to draw as you go for the Mini Deck of TBR-athon, or if you are drawing ahead and making a TBR for the week. Let me know in the comments. Okay, draw number 2. Another 6. Okay. We're getting the TBR jar again. I hope that it works out as well for me as the first 2 picks did, because those were some good options. Oofda. This is not how I planned this TBR to go. Okay, pink. Pink is good. Pink is romance for the month of love. Let's see. Is that the right way? I don't think so. Is this the right way? The Bookshop of Second Chances by Jackie Fraser. Okay, I think this is more of like a women's fiction, and just I have it on the romance shelf because I feel like those two go together. Okay, so that's option number 1 for card number 2. And let's see what it's going up against. This one. Another yellow, which again is contemporary. Oh, I could read it through the paper. Ah, okay. Olive Kittredge, which is by Elizabeth Strout. Okay, I didn't know I was going to try this author this month, but we'll see what my patrons pick. They will be deciding between The Bookshop of Second Chances by Jackie Fraser. This is about a woman who is desperate to turn a new page. She goes to the Scottish coast and finds herself locked in a battle of wills with an intriguingly aloof bookseller. Sounds cute. And then Olive Kittredge by Elizabeth Strout, which I think is kind of just a calm story about a woman named Olive. Looks like she's a retired school teacher and she doesn't like the changes in her small town. Okay, these two are going head to head for another random read. Ugh, duh. We are putting that 6 back in the deck and hoping we do not draw another one, because I don't think my mind or my heart could take it. I know. That seems a little crazy of me to say, but I need to have a little bit more choice here, people. All right, draw number 3. A 7, not a 6. A 7 is someone else picks. Okay. So the options for someone else picking is 1 point for a friend or a spouse, 3 points for a poll pick, and 5 points for a librarian. Because a poll is technically picking this book, I'm going to put 2 books that I choose against each other. The first is Olympus, Texas by Stacy Swan. This is a book that I'm reading with my book club with my friends from college. We'll be discussing it at the beginning of March, so it would be nice to get this one on here. And I also did myself a little favor by putting a graphic novel on here. This is a YA graphic novel about a young boy in Taiwan during the Japanese occupation. So I have the audiobook of this one, which would help, and then graphic novels just go pretty quickly for me. So either of these could be a great option, but only worth 3 points. So we'll see what is picked. The 7 is going back in. Please, can we get a card where I get to choose some books? I guess I kind of chose the last round, but let's see what we get for draw number 4. An 8. We are just slowly going up. 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 is a book in a series. Okay, so we can get 1 point by starting a series, 3 points by continuing a series, and 5 points for completing a series. It's a goal of mine to complete series this year, so let's see what series I could put up against each other. There are 2 romance series on my list that I have 1 more book in order to complete them. So the first is The Bride Test by Helen Huang. I read these out of order. This is technically book number 2, but they are a companion series. So I already read The Kiss Quotient and The Heart Principle. If I read The Bride Test, I would complete that trilogy of companions. And then the other option is reading Still Me by Jojo Moyes. This is the 3rd in the Me Before You series. We've got Me Before You, After You, and Still Me. So I'll be putting these 2 head to head and finishing a romance series next week. We'll put that 8 back in and shuffle for our last draw already. Crazy. 1 more for good measure. What did we get? I was expecting a 9, but we got a 10. We skipped the 9. A 10 is, oh gosh, this one's hard. My initials need to be in the title. If I use my first initial from my first name, I get 1 point. If I use my first and last initial, I get 3 points. And if I use first, middle, and last, I get 5 points. Let's see what we can find. My middle name is Faith, and finding a book title with F might be difficult. Let's check. Okay, I might be bending the rules just a little bit, but I technically have 4 initials. I took my maiden name as my second middle name, and so my initials are RFSL. I'm going to say if I can get 3 of those in the title, I can get 5 points. So I have 2 options with those initials in the title, with those letters. So the first is Powerless by Elsie Silver. We've got the R, the S, and the L. And I really want to continue on with the Chestnut Springs series. I love these books by Elsie Silver. In this one, we are following a friend of the Eaton brothers, Jasper, and he is a famous hockey player. We'll follow his love story. So this is one option. And then the another one I'm really interested in. I just got it and hauled it last month. We have the favorites. We've got the R, the F, and the S by Lane Fargo. This is another sporty romance, kind of, but this time the romance is between ice skaters. So we've got hockey and ice skaters. Interesting that these two are going head to head. These 2 ice skaters were in the Olympics and something happened. And now there's scandal or something. I really want to read it. I was just chatting with my friend Molly about it, and she really is enjoying it. So these are the options we've got. I'd be happy with either of these going on the TBR. Okay, this is the pile of possibilities that we have for Mini Deck of TBR-athon. This stack of 10 books will be narrowed down to 5. We'll see how many I can get read in 7 days. But my first card was a 6, and I randomly chose 2 books from my TBR jar. We are choosing between Britt Marie Was Here by Frederick Bachman and The Beautiful Mystery by Louise Penny. Then we got another 6, and doing the same thing, I chose Olive Kittredge by Elizabeth Strout and The Bookshop of Second Chances by Jackie Fraser. Next up, I have someone else picking my book with a poll. Thanks, patrons. And I put these 2 against each other. The Boy from Clearwater by Yu Pei Yoon and Zhu Jian Jin, and Olympus, Texas by Stacy Swan. Then I needed to read a book in a series. I want to complete series, so I put 2 romance series head to head. The first, which isn't here, is The Bride Test by Helen Huang, and that's going up against Still Me by Jojo Moyes. And lastly, we need my initials in the title. You saw how I made that work. We are putting Powerless by Elsie Silver against The Favorites by Lane Fargo. I'm really looking forward to this. Some that I had in mind to read and some that were completely not in my mind for February, but looking forward to seeing what I read for the week of Mini Deck of TBR-athon. Make sure you stay tuned. I will be vlogging the week, so you'll see which books are chosen for me. And I would love to hear, again, if you are pre-picking cards or if you plan to pick cards as you go to participate in this week of reading. I am so looking forward to reading with you next week, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye!